dynamics of attention are far deeper than most people might recognize. Children live on attention, the energy of attention. They thrive on the energy of attention. People seek attention. They're motivated by attention. They desire attention. And paradoxically, they often don't have the capacity to apply their attention consciously in a willful, disciplined, determined, and consistent and sustained way to any particular topic of life. So understanding the dynamics of attention is vitally important if we want to get people's attention, hold their attention long enough for them to arrive at collective understanding that will be generative of motivation in a sustained way. That process of accessing the attention cycle intentionally and catalyzing its power and applying it to this venue, we would suggest is vitally important. One way to do that is through heartfelt connection. So this particular slide is associated with masculine and feminine woundedness competitions, meaning that people who are wounded assume and feel viscerally that the antidote quite often to their pain is to derive attention from the collective or from those that care about them or that love them or that have the capacity to solve or heal their woundedness. So any individual, any group, any family, any culture, any nation that's experiencing pain and wounding might then experience interpretations of victimization, or they might go into triggered states of blame and judgmentalness, and they might assume that that is a way to arrive at realized power or assumed power and leverage either on a relationship. If one person in a relationship feels wounded, they might feel that going into a victim state and a blame and a judgmental or a critical state will generate an empowered dynamic, an empowering dynamic in the relationship that would then change the behavior of another. This cycle is a fractal, by the way. It operates within all human beings, all families, in all nations, and the species as a whole. It is a tribal dynamic that has previously been applied historically, traditionally, over and over and over again. And that said, it is not a dynamic that will allow us to evolve in a direct and clear and constructive way as individuals or as a species. So usually people find out that they've got realized power through blame and criticism and judgment or abandonment. And then they go into transactional modes. They may say, my wound is greater than your wound. I hurt more than you hurt. I have had more negative impact on my life than you have had. Therefore, you owe me, or you need to change. I don't need to change because I'm a victim and I have no accountability for my life because you have created this woundedness. So this whole wounded attention-seeking process is very paralyzing, non-constructive, does not tend to yield optimal results, and operates from a misapprehension of disempoweredness of the wounded or the victimized. So these transaction and exchange dynamics go on, sometimes for years or centuries. And then, and this is any culture in the world, any subunit of any culture in the world could have experienced this. If you look at the atrocities of the Germans in regard to the Jews, the Nazis in regard to the Jews, that woundedness has held the culture, in our view, to a degree, the culture of the Jewish nation and state in a state of unresolved woundedness, pain and suffering without seeming resolution. So That's just an example. There are many others, native Indians in America and the castes in India, perhaps. So in any case, individuals and groups remain unhealed due to the perceived benefits of remaining wounded and the fear of changing their woundedness into an empowered dynamic, simultaneously keeping them paralyzed and unhealed and disempowered. And that then does eventually yield release and healing whenever the person or group or nation has cycled through this enough times that they get tired of it and or recognize that it's not getting them where they want to go. So it seems to them that a safety and control strategy is to remain in the known familiar state and dynamic of woundedness and pain. Now, that's a terrifically tough message for people who are wounded and in pain. It's not a statement of, oh, get over your pain. It's not a statement of, oh, you weren't wounded. It's not a statement of, oh, you weren't victimized. It's not a statement of, it was totally unfair. It's a statement of, we love you, we want to help, and we can only reach you in your deepest wounded parts if you allow that to occur. If you will receive and accept the healing balm, the soothing intentions, the medicine that we would offer can only be delivered if you will receive it. And that requires trust. That requires rapport. That requires relationship, bonding and building in order to traverse those surface tension resistances to receiving healing that would then lead to healing of wounds occurring, that would then lead to recognition of personal empowerment and reunification of humanity. The wounds between men and women are innumerable. Men might assume that they've been wounded by women. Women have unquestionably been wounded by men in far more extreme ways. How do we bridge that gap? How do we build trust between the genders? How do we build a common language of relationship between wounded parties? How do we help them recognize and understand that they are cared about and valid and will consistent and trust that they will be consistently respected and honored? How do we accomplish that in a world today where judgmentalness and polarization, bias, prejudice, and projection are endemic and are rewarded in social media? And where people might well get attention for their wounds and not resolution for their wounds. There's a big difference. Attention can be a key core part of the healing process, unquestionably. And there must be more steps beyond that. There must be true healing that occurs. And we can never heal alone. We can heal between our soul and spirit, and that's not alone. We can heal between ourselves and other souls, and that's not alone. We don't ever get really healed all by ourselves.